Good evening. This is Stedman Fry, your host, along with my co-hosts, Amanda Goodman-Berry and Plex McGee. And we're joined today with by a very special guest, Delta worker Earl Hunt out of Philadelphia. And this is Delta Workers Unite, the Working Class Podcast, your newest resource for news updates and information on the state of the union drive and how you can get involved. We'll bring you interviews and stories from workers just like you and us who want to share happenings as they see them. We'll also be debunking the falsehoods and misconceptions about the union and giving you the tools to do the same. Please remember to share, like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you will know when we post or go live. Thank you. Hello. Let me unmute everybody. It's your host here, co-host, Stedman Fry, based out of Detroit. I want to give my panelists a chance to introduce themselves. I'll start off with Amanda Goodman-Berry.
I'm Amanda Goodman-Berry. Thank you for that introduction, Stedman. I'm out of Minneapolis, 26 years, and happy to be here to share some knowledge with our worker-to-workers, and I'll pass it over to Plex McGee.
Yo, what's poppin'? Delta, Ramp, Cargo Tower, and anybody listening out here, it's your boy Flex McGee, 24 years. Just ready to get into it today. I mean, I'm excited. As always, man, I'm just happy to be here. You got it, Earl.
What's going on, everybody? My name is Earl Hunt. I'm based out of Philadelphia, Delta Airlines, 27 years with the company. It's a blessing to be on the show this evening.
And again, I'm Stedman Fry, based out of Detroit, 18 years, and here to get into the topics today. On the order of business, we're going to be discussing Know Your Rights and the Railway Labor Act. I've got the website pulled up, so I'll share my screen. And we're just going to go over that. And then Brother Earl is going to kind of give us some in-depth information about how to utilize the Know Your Rights and RLA section. And we'll have, along with the other co-panelists, some back and forth. And everybody will kind of give some insight, different ways you can use this information to help along with the organizing drive. So on the Delta Workers Unite page under the Our Fight tab, you can scroll down to Know Your Rights. And it says, as employees of a company that provides national travel and commerce, we must organize under the law laid out by the Railway Labor Act, RLA. Under it, there are a few unique challenges, with the largest being that to trigger a union election, we need 50% plus one of all ramp, tower, cargo agents across the country to sign an authorization card, also known as an A card. The card is neither a commitment to a yes or no vote, simply a statement of belief that we deserve to vote and decide our future for ourselves. The RLA protects the following rights to self-organize: the right to join the union and to ask others to join the union, the right to attend union meetings and to ask others to attend union meetings, the right to wear a union pin on the job, the right to hand out union leaflets on the employee's own time in break rooms, the right to encourage others to support the union so long as such efforts do not interfere with work, the right to discuss the union during work, the right to engage in organizing activities in break rooms, parking lots, and other non-work areas. To protect these rights, the RLA makes the following interference conduct by management unlawful: polling or surveilling employee organizing activities, like if an employee signed an authorization card, terminating/disciplining or threatening to terminate/discipline employees for supporting the union, forming or encouraging employees to join employee committees during the organizing drive, or using existing employee committees to engage in anti-union efforts, conveying inaccurate or misleading information about union elections or preventing employees from participating in an election, soliciting or accepting authorizations or ballots from employees, promising to give employees promotions, raises, or other benefits in exchange for voting against the union, or threatening to discontinue existing benefit, pay, or position because employees support the union. And so that's it. I'll pass it over to Brother Earl, if you'd like to go into detail for us tonight.
Thank you, Stedman. Basically, you have the National Mediation Board. The National Mediation Board consists of 3 members on the panel. And what the National Mediation Board does, that one of the major responsibilities is to file representation applications. So a prime example for the Delta campaign. So when we reach the 50% plus one of our A cards, so that will get over to the National Mediation Board. They will validate those cards one by one. And what they will do, they will ask the list from Delta, make sure all those cards are valid. Then we will go into a representation election to organize. So that's one of the major functions of the NMB. Also, when there are negotiations between the union and the employer, and for some reason, if those negotiations are stalled, the National Mediation Board can actually bring in mediators from the National Mediation Board to help the process out between the union and between the employer to get the contract straight for the employees. So that's 2 of the major things for the National Mediation Board. Now, the Railroad Labor Act is the statute, which is the laws that railroad employees and airline workers have when trying to organize. And those rules were established back in, to go a little deep into it, those rules were established back in 1926 when it was a national railroad strike. And at that time, airlines wasn't really carrying heavy goods like we are doing today. So what happened was railroad workers did a national strike. The union and the railroad workers, they came up with certain bylaws that they wanted to go by as far as trying to give everything in line for organizing. Took those laws to the U.S. government, and boom, the RLA was born. So the railroad labor, the RLA basically states how representation elections go about, your federal rights for you to have an election, and your rights is to basically organize on the job. And that's one of the things that a lot of Delta employees need to educate themselves. So when you have an OSM telling you, well, you can't sign an A card, yes, you can sign an A card, not while you're physically working, but during your downtime. If you're in the break room, and you know how the break room language goes, we talk about sports, we talk about anything else, while you're not physically working, you can sign an A card. So the RLA is basically the rules, the laws that we can go by as far as organizing.
So if you don't mind, Stedman, can I step in right here? I'm gonna throw this over to Flex because he's in the beast of it all, the ATL. But to really give people the full understanding of knowing your rights, just knowing that you have a right. I just want to, just kind of piggyback and just break it down just a little bit to what the workers really understand. You have federal protection. You have the right. And the reason why we're stressing this is I know that a lot of time people get nervous when you ask them to sign a card because they're afraid of what management might know or not know. I think I said this on the last show. Management will not know that you have signed a card. That is not the privilege that we have to give to anyone. Once those cards go off, it's not even on us. So I'm going to hand it over to Flex because Flex really been doing a great job in the ATL when it comes to bringing people in. And he can definitely help break that down a lot more for the workers to understand. Because here, we just want to make sure the workers get all the knowledge that they need so that they can better help with this drive. I give it to you, Flex.
Thank you, sister. And to kind of tag team in and jump in with all of this. Uh, the Railroad Labor Act is kind of the governing rules of everything that we have to work under. It explains how you are protected and what your rights are under that protection. Another thing that we have to realize, and I don't want to get too far ahead of us, Delta also has an advocacy policy that you can look up on the DeltaNet that explains the rules about where you can organize, where you can't organize. And all we're trying to do is give people the proper education and information so that you don't have to be fearful in either being an organizer or even just being a supporter, somebody who's signing a card. So the most important thing that you can get out of everything that we came here to talk about today is understanding your rights. And if somebody is violating your rights, understand that you can come to the union, and we actually have interference forms for things that are happening in your city. I know in certain cities, I'm gonna be honest, LaGuardia, JFK, where we've heard reports and rumors that OSMs are running down on people who are either asking people to sign cards or they feel like have signed a card before. All of this stuff is violations, but the violation, and there's nothing we can do to assist you if you're not willing to report it. Your violations, if you see somebody being violated and you're still uncomfortable, even some of that stuff can be anonymous that you can report. You know what I'm saying? Anonymously. But we have to make sure that we're reporting these things, and we have to make sure that our coworkers understand that talking to a IAM representative or talking about or being an employee and supporting the union, these are things that are federally protected rights. And if we can't stand by those federally protected rights, I mean, we got a bigger problem. It still is America. You know, we still should be able to feel solid on our beliefs, even if our beliefs contradict what somebody else's beliefs are. So that's I probably got a bunch more, but that's all I got for right now. I don't want to get too heavy too quick.
I think you brought up good information concerning reporting violations. So, how would a person, anybody, this is open to anybody on the panel, how would a person go about getting a form or reporting a violation of the RLA as it pertains to organizing, maybe from managers, trying to put the clamps on you or the screws to you because they know you might be a vocal advocate in the break room or anywhere else?
Well, number one, the first thing you can do is it's actually on our website. There should be I'm saying it because there should be an interference form link on our website. But also another way to get that form, and I'm almost positive it's on there. I'm sure it is. But if it's not and you can't find it, you always can get with your local organizers, and we can get those forms out to you as well. Even if your local organizer is just an IAM rep who stands outside passing out flyers, you can always get your story to them, and we can get you the assistance you need in the filing interference forms.
Okay. And as far as, where you should organize or where you shouldn't, we went into a little bit of detail when I read that, in break rooms and non-work areas. So let's say I work in the bag room and, I work next to somebody who I know is interested. Is that a place where I can offer them a card to sign, or on the ramp? Let's say we have some downtime, but we are outside. Is that an area where I would be allowed or advised to try to get a card signed or to engage in organizing activities?
I'll throw that to Earl. Earl is pretty good on that one.
But from my experience, what I normally do while we're not working. So a lot of times in my situation, like I said, a lot of times in the break room, where we eat at, we have a lot of discussion because one of the rules are while we at work, physically working, we're not allowed to get the card signed. It's basically on your downtime. Like I said, from my experience in the break rooms, or upstairs in the terminal, probably getting something to eat or just, bypassing, downtime. That's when I normally go ahead and get the card signed. But as you're working on the job, working, it's not allowed.
Stedman, I like to add that to that because in the back room sometimes, like people they have little tables. So if that table is away from where you're actually working at, that is your lunch. Because a lot of people sit in carts, take their lunch. A lot of people sit, and that's your downtime. And if that's your lunchtime and your downtime, and you're not actually working, and you decide to sign a card, you have a right to sign a card on that because a lot of these areas don't have a lot of space where you can, like transfers. So, but once you come back in and you're sitting at the table, it's just like talking about the weather. It's like talking about the news. So if you want to have conversation and someone say, hey, would you like to sign a card? They have every right to sign a card because spaces sometimes are so limited to where you can, have those lunch breaks. So I just want workers to truly understand that as long as you're not physically working in that working area and you're sitting off to yourself, and that's if that table is considered your lunch or your break table, you have a right to sign a card at that table. You have a right to sign that card. And I'll hand that over to Flex because he can also talk a little bit more about that limited space in the ATL.
So to kind of wrap up what's going on with this, you can sign a card in non-work areas during non-work times. You can talk about the union all day long, the same way you talk about how the Falcons are in first place or, the Bills Mafia is the best fan base ever. You can have the conversations anywhere, but actually physically getting cards signed has to happen in non-work areas during non-work times. And you have to be that's a little dicey at times. You have to be careful when you understand where non-work areas are during non-work times, because I could be talking to you in the Lowe's Center and you're not working, but that could be considered a work area because somebody in there is pulling up their worksheets. So you really want to try to keep this stuff to the non-work areas, to the lunch rooms, the locker rooms, a smoke area, places where there's no work being done. You can have the conversation anywhere that you can talk about. Anywhere else, you always can have the conversation. But the actual getting cars signed, you want to keep that to non-work areas during non-work times. And you have to be careful with even some of that, because some airports for Delta, they have like quiet rooms. And those quiet rooms are kind of considered work areas. So where that's not necessarily the area you can go into. And that's all stuff that you should be able to figure out, find out by your leader. If everybody's in there talking and doing whatever, it can't be a quiet room. You know what I'm saying? I know that was something in Atlanta we ran into in the past. But non-work areas during non-work times, you won't have a problem. And if you have managers standing over you while you're trying to get this stuff done, then just record it. And when I say record, I mean just say, hey, at such and such time, such and such manager, as we were talking about, the union was standing over us, watching us. If you feel intimidated, then that's okay. It's okay to actually report that. Let the government decide if that's intimidation by them standing over us, knowing that people are scared. Let them figure it out.
And I think you bring up a good point with that. I think it's advisable. I know I do this personally, but get a little notebook. You can go to Office Max or Walmart or anywhere, get you a small notebook, a pack of pens. And when you have interactions with management, if you notice maybe now that I'm engaged in organizing, I've had more one-on-one conversations, or I've gotten more coachings, or I've gotten more comments about my work performance that seem to come out of nowhere, I can jot those down in my notebook. I have a record that I can recall at any moment, and I can show, how this progression of interactions has occurred. And I got a couple comments I want to just hit. One from Kip. It says, if an OSM is found guilty of violation of the Railway Labor Act, they can be subject to 2 years in prison and or a $20,000 fine. Tell OSMs that and show them the law, and they usually back right off. So I think that's important to understand that there are legal protections. I know we've kind of emphasized that there are federal protections, but this is a federal protected act that we're engaged in. This is not, so long as you operate within the bounds of the law, not in work areas, not during work times, etc., you are going to be protected by the law. And it does require you, as I'm saying, and as the panelists kind of said too and reiterated, it requires you to take extra effort and be mindful of the interactions you have with your coworkers, with your managers, or whoever, so that you can be on top of this. And I also got a link from Tiffany, one of our moderators. And so I'll pull up on the screen just because I have it. The online interference report is on the I Am Delta website. Under resources, if you go to resources, you see the online interference report, and it's iamdelta.net. And go to resources, and then you can scroll down, read the information here. And you scroll down, it gives you a date of the incident, the location, employer, representative, name and title, describe the incident, who was it witnessed by, you or some other witness, address, and you fill out that information, and you can attach any files that you have, whether they be pictures or I'm assuming audio. So it looks like PDF documents. So no audio or pictures, but I mean no audio or video, but pictures, documents, PDFs, and you can submit that, and it will be taken to the relevant locations for you to have your claim heard and get a resolution on that, which is what we need. We need people, as been said, we need people who are willing to take that extra effort when they're putting themselves out there to organize, to take these next steps, and to also be diligent about reporting violations. Those things help, because otherwise it appears as though everything is on the up and up and there's nothing wrong or there's no interference, and we know that's not the case.
Great job on that statement. That was good. That was really good. Also, as we move forward with these podcasts, the first two, we're really just trying to make you aware, give you some knowledge that you know. But we will be talking about like everyday, like what's happening in Atlanta. So what's happening in Philly, what's happening in Detroit, what's happening in Minneapolis, and just kind of like giving you updates on where we at, what do we need. And I just want to emphasize that we really, this is not like we just want to see more people get involved. I would love to see this whole screen be with 20 Delta workers, 30 Delta workers. And we just want to see you just, get involved and help get those cards signed and be a part of this, because this is historic. When we pull this off, I like to say when we pull this off, this is history in the making. And we just want to see more voices. We want to hear more, see more faces. We want to see you come forward and show Delta that they need to remain neutral. And one of the biggest problems we've had with Delta is that they don't respect neutrality. They don't respect staying neutral so that we can have a right to do what we're doing. So, I mean, and unfortunately, sometimes you have to use terms that people can understand. If the way we have to pull this off, it's like an underground railroad. I mean, we have to go through so many tunnels and so many curves to get to the workers. We don't have the freedom to just walk around and just do what Delta can. Delta can use DeltaNet. Delta can use all the advantages that they have to get to the workers. And we don't have that advantage. So we're just asking for Delta to pretty much, as Dan McCurdy just posted, treat us fair. Give us fairness. Give us a right. If we win, we win. If we lose, we lose. We will accept that. But how do we get there if you don't give us a chance and remain neutral? So we want to just talk to the workers and tell them that, you have a right to do this here. And it all goes back to know your rights. We have a right to do what we're doing. We have a right to organize. We have a right for union representation. We have a right to the best benefits because we work for the best airlines in the world. So why wouldn't Delta want to see us have that? And I'll pass it back over to the panelists, whoever would like to come behind that. So we're just asking for, honestly, fairness. Just give us fairness.
And the way, the way I look at it also is dignity and respect. Because if you look at the pilots for Delta Airlines, they're the highest paid compensation. They have the best work rules. because they have a voice, they have a union representing them. Same scenario with the Canadian workers for Delta, for the above and below wings. Same scenario. They have the best compensation, they have the best work rules in Canada because they have a voice. That is something that the U.S. employees here is trying to achieve, is to have the respect, the dignity, and to have a voice at the workplace.
And if I may jump in behind that, just to kind of piggyback as well, like Dan said, we're not asking for any advantages. You know, I appreciate you reminding us of that, Dan. All we asking for is an even slate. Give us an opportunity, like just stay out of our business, it's employee business. To be honest with you, if employees felt like everybody was being treated correctly at the job, we wouldn't be here. It's really enough of us that at Delta Airlines, on the ramp tower, cargo workers, really all throughout the airline, who feel some kind of way about how we're treated. We're tired of being lied to. We're tired of not properly being represented. We're tired of our say not being heard. Like everybody always says, we have a what do they say? It's not a revolving door. It is a revolving door, but they have open door policy.
Yeah.
But the same door you walk in is the same door they throw you out of. No resolution to your issues. And that's really our big, like nobody understands the processes that go on at our job. And all people want to do is come here without the stress of worrying about what could happen today if something happens today. Like that's all we're out here fighting for. And if you're somebody who doesn't even believe that we need a union, you understand what I'm saying as well, because there are things that are out there that happen. It's not just about leaving your job if you don't like the work rules or go start your own airline. Like we hear so much of that at the job, or you guys are so ungrateful and you got the highest profit sharing in the world, but they don't know that you're looking at all of this medical bills because, you know, you got sick or because you got injured and now all your bills are behind. Nobody looks at that stuff. They look at, recently somebody sent me a screenshot of the More Perfect Union video I did. And the screenshot says, this guy drives a Camaro and he's complaining. Like the car that I drive means that if I get hurt at work, I don't deserve any fair compensation for my injuries for doing my job. And we got to get past that. And that's one of the things that we really want to educate people on out here. I'm not looking for more than my fair share. I'm just looking for my fair share. I come to work every day on time, ready to work. And I expect fair compensation for that. If something happens to me, I just want to be compensated for that. That's it. And it's not like they're not making the money. You know what I'm saying? You brag about being 40% of the total industry. But here we are, people that are literally, some people are struggling to pay bills. You know what I'm saying? So I just wanted to make sure that I kind of emphasize that, man. This isn't, don't let people make you feel like you're being greedy because you fight against corporate greed. I guess that's what I wanted to say.
Great point. I will turn it back over to Statman. We're gonna try to wind this thing down within the 30 minutes. Like I said, we have so much to talk about, but we'll be back next week to do this again. And then the more we do it, the more we'll get more things out. So Statman, we'll put it back in your hands and you can take us from there.
Okay. So I just, I wanted to comment on what we're talking about earlier. I pulled up the website, but I won't screen share. It's not important, but the NLRB, the National Labor Relations Board, ruled November 13th, 2024, so this year, that employers violate the National Labor Relations Act by requiring employees under threat of discipline or discharge to attend meetings in which the employer expresses its views on unionization, also known as captive audience meetings. So this is another tool that we all have at our disposal. We are all aware at different stations of different ways that these things are handled. I know I heard about some stories in Boston where some of the management is a lot more heavy-handed. And so we need to understand that the tactics they're using are illegal and that, you know, there's a price that can be paid if we're willing to report it. And, you know, to piggyback on what?
Just so you understand, the NLRB, we don't fall under those rules. We fall under the NMB, the National Aviation Board.
Oh,
That stuff does, yeah, that did happen recently, but we fall under the NMB because we're under the Railroad Labor Act. So that doesn't apply to us. So I just wanted to make sure cleared that up. That did happen, but that necessarily doesn't apply to us, which is why they still have captive audience meetings. It's a lot of stuff that the NLRB has that we don't have with the NMB. We have a lot of
Okay.
outdated laws and rules that are going on that, hopefully we'll be trying to work to change that stuff too. But I just wanted to make sure I cleared that up so we didn't give any misinformation.
Well, I
Great
appreciate that.
catch.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Well, we still are in a situation where we can report what we can report under the rules that we do have. So moving forward, the second point I wanted to make is that, we all do work, right? Everybody who's here, everybody on this panel has double-digit years. 3/4 of the panel has 24 years and plus. And so nobody has that much time at a job who doesn't do their job properly, who doesn't follow the rules, and who's not an exemplary employee. And so when we speak about the issues concerning working people, specifically our fellow coworkers, we're speaking from a position of people who do the job, right? And have done the job for decades, right? This is not, a lot of times you hear people say, oh, such and such is lazy, or people want unions because they're lazy. That doesn't apply here. You can't be lazy and be at a job for 20 some years, 20 plus years. It doesn't happen. You can't skirt by that quickly. So I'll end it there. My spiel, I'll end there. I'll have links to the I Am Delta website, specifically under the report of violations, the incident report section in the description. We'll have the links to the Facebook, the X, the Instagram. We'll have the Delta Workers Unite page on there, and any other relevant information will be in the description. Also, we didn't go over Blue Notes again today, but there is an important article in there discussing why it's taken so long for things to get going. And as we have reiterated a few times, it's important for us to understand that in order for this process to work better, we have to get involved. You have to activate your coworkers. And as Dan is saying, we should report everything we see as interference. The IM is willing to sort it out. And so that's a good idea too, like the expression. I can't even remember it now. Let God sort them out. But, that's essentially it. It's not up to us. It's not up to us to try to figure out what is interference. We need to make sure that we're being diligent and reporting what we see, and let the IM tell us or make the determination on whether it's interference or not, because we're trying our best to mobilize and organize for a union for a better day for all of us. And so, that's it for me. I don't know if anybody else wants to give any final thoughts or last words, but I appreciate you all sharing time with me and helping me to expand my understanding of our work rules as well.
I'll just like to end with, it's something they always say: if you see something, say something. If you hear something that you don't think it sounds right, talk about it. Come to your organizers, come to the local people that are helping on this drive, and just talk to people, because a lot of times you think that you're not doing something right and you're actually getting it right. So I just want to end with, see something, say something, speak about it. Don't be afraid to speak up for yourself. Do it with respect, do it with dignity, as Brother Earl said. Do it with standard, do it with class. And come aboard and work with us. We could use your help. We would love to have you. Request the A card here. Also, go to our website, as Stedman said. And if you don't want to hand it to us, feel free to. You can find this card by QR codes. But let's get involved. And the more workers get involved, the sooner we can get there. And I just want to say thank you for taking your time out of your evening, out of your schedule, just to be here with us today. We want to thank you sincerely, because that is greatly appreciated, that you want to hear what we have to say, and we want you to hear what you have to say as well. So thank you.
So that last, the card information, I'll have that. It's the same I Am Delta website. But I'll close out. Thanks for tuning in with us. If you have questions that were not answered, or maybe a specific topic you'd like to have addressed, please leave us a comment and we will get back to you as soon as possible. Also, all available links to information and materials are posted in the description below. Remember, this podcast is powered by working people just like you. In solidarity, peace.
Stedman. Flex got one thing.
Okay.
Actually, that was a beautiful outro. I hate to even say it. I was just wondering if we could go over that Blue Notes, that quick article in like about 4 or 5 minutes, just so we can make sure people understood what was going on. I don't know if you guys have the time. I know we're running close to that 40-minute mark. We want to just kind of stay under it, but I think that's important enough to just I think it's important enough for us to get out along with all the other good information we had today. If we can do it quick in about 5 minutes, I think it's worth it. What you think? You already got it pulled up.
Oh yeah, I'll try to be ready. So here we got Blue Notes. It's issue 65, published November 29th. You can find that through the Delta website, link in the description. But I'll start reading. What's taking so long? Delta workers who are collecting cards get asked that question at least 3 times a day. Here's the short answer. It's a massive task getting over 9,000 union cards signed in a year from 18,000 workers in 45 different locations ain't easy. Right now, expired cards are holding us back. We have around 67 current cards and another 2,700 expired cards. If we get those expired cards re-signed, we are at an election. That means a couple of things. First, everyone reading this needs to make sure their own card is current. We had someone ask why it was taking so long, but their own card had expired. If in doubt, sign a card and send it in or get it to an organizer in your station. We will be creating a QR code that will make it easy for you to check if your card is current, if we have your number or email. It also means that we need everyone reading this to ask their coworkers to re-sign or sign a new card if they haven't signed yet. This only happens if people step up. Nobody is coming to save us but us. Please quit waiting. Please step up.
That's a great ending.
It is.
That's a great ending.
Yeah, if I may also, man, thank you, Brother Earl, for rocking with us this Monday, man, taking the time out of your day to be a part of this. Everything, all of your efforts that you put in this, brother, but thank you not only for what you do away from here, thank you for being a part of this today, man. Thank you.
It's a blessing for you guys, the panel, allow me to come on. So it's a blessing. Thank you.
Love, brother.
Thank you for your expertise and your time. So with that, I'll close it out. Peace.
Peace.